Okay, darling, you were telling me about the guilds, the Worshipful guilds, who set the standards of the artistry that builds a gentleman or lady's costume.
Well, Tyne, you use the word artistry completely correctly, because without the guilds...
Thank you, darling.
Without the guilds, we would not have that craftsmanship, that way of being, the way that they actually understood their materials, whether it's
The
silver,
textiles.
well, yes, I mean
Or
silver,
leather,
wool, whatever happens
crocodile.
to be. Well, I think that was slightly later, but I'm not sure if there's a guild of crocodiles, is there?
Oh, well, they're called Wainers. Luxury skins.
I suppose, yes. I thought that was mine. Anyway, but apart from that, I think that thank goodness we have people who are intelligent makers and intelligent people who understand that maybe that's the first stage, and they won't even know what the last stage will be, whether it ends up in Savile Row, of course, or Jermyn Street, of course, or further afield. But the fact is, it's been made exquisitely.
Yes, well, the Worshipful guilds, for the most part, were started in the medieval era.
Yes.
And the fact that we can trace the Worshipful Guild of Merchant Tailors, for example, from is it the 13th or 14th century
14th, I'd say,
forward to the present, is a miracle. And it was King Charles II who had the prescience of mind on his return from exile on the continent in 1660 to encourage, he assigned Henry Jermyn the task of luring the Worshipful Guild of Merchant Tailors and bootmakers and hat makers and tobacconists and vintners and all the great Worshipful guilds. He urged them to set up shop in St James's and Mayfair, which at the time was known as the Catholic killing fields, but he thought that by luring them here, he would eradicate that blight and create a modern London, which would be a shining beam to the rest of Europe, the world indeed. And this was, his father had built Covent Garden as the playground for his people, and King Charles II and his brother James II and later Anne built this area for the retail paradise of London. And it's fortunate that he did, because of course the Great Fire of London tore through the old Roman city of London in 1666 and for the most part demolished every one of the Worshipful Guild buildings, but they were all trading from here by then.
And can you imagine, Tyne, all started in a baker's shop?
So often the case.
I mean, really? Just for London burnt down for toast.
Yes.
I mean, really.
It was all wooden, for the most part wooden.
Well, of course.
So,
we learnt our mistakes.
And the oldest, let's not forget, the oldest foundations in London still in use are those of St James's Palace, which was a leprous colony for maidens, looked after by nuns and monks, the order of St James the Lesser, which is how the area gets its name.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But when Henry VIII dissolved the monasteries, they were turfed out, and he turned the palace into a love nest for himself and Queen Anne. And Q and A are all over the palace, St James's Palace. Speaking of insignias, a wonderful insignia is the CCs that we see around Westminster, because of course those stand for Queen Catherine of Braganza, the C, and King Charles, who between them created the modern London. People often think it's Coco Chanel.
Yeah, indeed.
Nice
It's
thought.
an urban myth, I suppose.
Yes,
nice.
nice
Of the
thought.
connection with the Duke of Westminster.
Exactly. They exist. But Westminster was created, built up under the instruction of Charles II, and as I said later, his brother James II and Anne, his niece, all had a great part to play in creating the luxury retail paradise that is St James and Mayfair.
Wonderful.